All right, welcome those of you that are coming through now. I can see the numbers starting to tick up there. So today we are talking about the most exciting topic in the world, meetings. And we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to learn some stuff, but I'm going to need some engagement from you. So I need you to go to your chat box and find those icons there, and I need you to find the thumbs up icon. So if you can go to your chat box, find the thumbs up icon and just give me a thumbs up. What will happen is that will appear on my screen and I'll see you engaging with me as I go through the material. I won't be monitoring, there we go, got a couple of thumbs up coming through. So I won't be monitoring the chat box. If you've got any questions that you want me to answer at the end of the webinar, please chuck those in the Q&A box, and then my team will prompt me with those at the end. But do find that thumbs up icon. There we go, got them coming through now. And that will help you engage with me, which will make me feel like I'm not just presenting to a screen, which is great. And also we're going to play some fun games where I'll need those thumbs up to vote. So find that thumbs up icon, hit that icon so that I know that you're there. There we go. And we will learn about meetings today. Once again, the most fun topic we could ever do. Hopefully you've got a beverage of your choice. Often people need coffee to keep up with me, but if you've got a beverage for happy hour, that's all good too. I certainly do. So let's talk about meetings, power meetings, get more done in less time. As I go through today, I've got some slides that have got information. I'm not going to read all of the information to you on those slides. I'm going to talk about some other topics and you can just quickly read through them. And if you want the slides come the end, just flick us a message and we can email them to you. I'm totally happy to share this content. And some of it is really fun. The first really fun thing that I'm going to share with you is that the number one wish of senior managers is that the meeting could have just been an email. And this is international research out of the US. And people are tired of being dragged along to unnecessary meetings, and most people just want an FYI and to be caught up on the information that really matters. So we're going to talk a little bit more about why that is. I'm going to share some statistics with you in a fun way, And then we're going to look at why those statistics are the way they are and some practical things that we can apply to combat that. So we're going to have some tools and tricks and tips that are pretty simple tools, to be honest, and tricks that will help improve your meetings and help combat some of that meeting fatigue that people are so sick of. So first of all, why are bad meetings a problem? Well, in New Zealand here, we have to work longer and harder than 23 other countries in the OECD just to achieve the same thing. And I think that's a bit of a problem. I would like us to be working less hard and enjoying the beautiful country that we live in. So we sit at about 24th currently on the productivity scale. And I believe, and the data certainly supports to some extent, that some of the reason why we're so unproductive is because of how bad we are at meetings in this country. And many countries are bad at meetings and it's impacting their productivity as well. But in our country in particular, we have a lot of meetings where people do what I call winging it, making it up as they go. Now, the fact is our leaders don't have enough time. There's not enough time in the day to muck around in meetings that you don't need to be sitting in, and meetings that have little focus. What our leaders need is time to collaborate and make decisions and solve problems. So give me a thumbs up if you agree with that as a minimum. We need more time to just focus on the right things, collaborate and solve problems, make decisions, get stuff done. See, I can see those thumbs up coming through. Thank you. So that's what we need. We don't need to be sitting in meetings that could have just been an email, and we don't need to sit in meetings that waffle on and go nowhere. What this leads to, unfortunately, is teams that get frustrated because they feel their time slipping away while sitting in these meetings and they don't see progress. So the number one thing that frustrated team members want to see is progress. And without seeing progress, team members get more and more frustrated, and then you start finding these excuses not to come to the meeting, and communication falls apart. So communication is one of the key things that we'll talk about today and why it's important. But progress is what people want to see, all right? Progress. So my wish for you at the end of today is to not spend another minute sitting in another meeting that could have been an email. We want to decide on the meetings that we should be attending, the meetings that can just be an email, and everything in between. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. We're going to start though with a fun game that I love to do in webinars. It's my pub quiz, and what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to write down and kind of guess your answers and give me a thumbs up with that thumbs up icon if you got it right. I'm going to share some statistics with you that may surprise you, and we'll talk to that and then relate that to how we improve meetings, okay? So there's a purpose to the pub quiz, but we're going to have some fun. All right. First question. In which decade was the first virtual meeting held? Write it down or type it down. In which decade was the very first virtual meeting held? The answer, the 1930s. So we're almost in 2030 and we haven't progressed that much based on the data. That's right. I can see those icons coming through. Okay, next question. How many hours per day do regular employees spend in meetings? How many hours per day do employees spend in meetings? Between 2 and 5 hours. A third of our workforce spend between 2 and 5 hours sitting in meetings. And I would like to say that that's the worst of it, but it's not. It gets worse. I have some more to share with you. So this is data out of the USA, but I'd say it's not too far off here, although the businesses here in New Zealand are smaller. In the USA, what is the average number of meetings a senior executive attends per week? Write it down. See if you get it right. Give me a thumbs up if you get this one right. How many meetings does the average senior executive in the US attend a week? Okay, we're ready. 36, if you can believe that. 36. So that means that they've got approximately 4 hours to do their actual work if they're doing 1 hour meetings. And I think most of us can agree that most meetings go on for longer than an hour because meetings aren't effectively or efficiently run. So next question. What percentage of meeting time is spent on actual decision making? I've not seen any thumbs up yet, so I'm guessing the numbers are much worse than all of you are guessing. What percentage of meeting time is spent on actual decision making? You ready for the answer? Only 3% or less. So 36 meetings a week and only 3% of the time spent in those meetings. One of you got it right. Perfect. Is 3% is spent on decision making. So that doesn't make sense, does it? What's the purpose of a meeting? To make decisions. Okay, what's the most common reason people arrive late to meetings? See if you can take a guess. It's not my dog ate the homework. See if you can take a guess. What's the most common reason people arrive late to meetings? They're not prepared. So, and how could you be? If you're attending 36 meetings a week, how much time do you have in between meetings to prepare? It's just ridiculous. How many times do you think people check their phone during an average meeting? This one shocked me. I don't know if this one's true. I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper. Take a guess. I couldn't believe this one, but perhaps you can believe it. How many times does the average person check their phone during a 1 hour meeting? 28 times. So the meetings are so uninspiring that we can't even pay attention for 1 hour anymore without being distracted by technology. Now, what percentage of meeting attendees agree that meetings are unproductive? So how many, what percentage of the team do you think that meetings are unproductive? The answer is 70%. So most people sitting in the meetings think that the meetings are unproductive. And yet we all stay quiet and keep attending these meetings. Thumbs up there. Somebody guessed that one right. Cool. In which decade was the first commercial video conferencing system introduced? Which decade? So the first call was in the 1930s. When do you think the first commercial video conferencing system was introduced? 1970s. So more than 50 years ago. And we're still running terrible meetings online. So some things have to change, and I'm going to talk about that shortly. Which popular meeting software platform was originally designed as a game development tool? I'll go through this one quickly. The answer is Zoom. So Zoom, which is the world's most popular meeting software, wasn't even designed for running meetings. It's progressed that way in a really great way. We're using Zoom right now, but was not intentionally designed for that purpose. It was designed as a collaboration tool for game developers, which I thought was pretty interesting. So the bonus question, the last question, see if you can guess this one right. What is the best meeting software in the world? I'm not going to leave you hanging too long. You should guess right straight away. It's my software that we designed. Is called Beyond, and it enables you to run all of your meetings. Now, I'm not going to pitch Beyond at you all day today. I'm actually going to talk about other stuff, but it is the best software. So if you know anyone who needs to improve their meetings, point them to Beyond. Now, what's going wrong? What are the things that are telling us that our meetings are going wrong? What are the symptoms? What are the red flags? And then what do we do about it? All right, so we find these red flags, or we notice these red flags. Do we put our heads in the sand, or do we address the problems? So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go through these red flags. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen this happen in a business. Doesn't have to be the one you're in now, but if you've seen this happen in a business, and I can tell you I have seen all of them, which is why I made these fun slides. If you've seen these, give us a thumbs up so that I can see how popular these ones are. So, first one, people are hiding in the toilet to escape the meeting. I've actually seen this happen. So that's probably the biggest red flag. If people are hiding in the toilet to escape the meeting, you really have terrible meetings. So some improvement is required. All right? Now, getting more serious, but still true. If a meeting ends and an attendee has not contributed or spoken at all, give me a thumbs up if you've seen that. Okay, several of you have seen that. Okay. So we can't let that happen. That means that 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, totally wasted with a person not contributing or discussing anything of importance, right? That's a really long FYI. Next, meetings go overtime all the time. Now, the all the time is the key there. Okay, so you're seeing that one as well. So it's okay if a meeting goes over time every now and then. Every now and then a gnarly, a gritty topic will come up and you need to deep dive it a little bit, or you need to do the conversation justice in order to move past it as a team. Sometimes that happens. But if that's happening every time, your meetings are being derailed, which is the next slide. The agenda's not being followed. Your meetings are being derailed. They're going off track all the time. Usually they're going off track because your agenda is not robust enough. Only one of you are going off, the agendas are going off track. So that's good. Two of you now. Okay. So the agenda has to be designed to flow in such a way that it keeps things moving, keeps people engaged, and you're able to stick to it. And some of that is around timekeeping, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, are roll calls performed? And are meeting attendees left without receiving the minutes? So often what will happen that creates a lack of productivity within teams is the roll call's not done, so there's a couple of people absent depending on the size of your meetings, and then they don't receive any meeting minutes. And so instead of being able to just read and get a quick update and catch up and know where they stand and what actions have been decided and what decisions have been decided and who's working on what and get a sense of what's going on, that person then has to have a conversation to get a download. And if there were 6 people in the meeting, they might talk to all 6 people to get their point of view. Now you've rehashed that meeting 6 times. That's just lost productivity yet again. So it's really important that the discipline of roll calling at the start of the meeting, identifying who's not there, and then emailing them the minutes afterwards along with the other attendees is a really important habit to get into. Now, if one person, like Sir Talk a Lot Logan at the moment, doing all the talking, if one person always dominates the conversation, that's a problem. Again, that's really just an FYI. It could have been a memo if one person's doing all the talking. The purpose of a meeting is to get other voices, it's to get collaboration, it's to get discussion, it's to make decisions, and it's to agree on actions. So if one person's doing all the talking, that's a problem. Now, this should be thumbs up all over my screen right now. No one discusses whether the meeting was effective. If you're not reviewing your meetings at the end of every meeting, there, in the room, with all the attendees, you're not discussing what's working and what's not, you're not improving your meeting week to week. I'm not seeing any thumbs up. Clearly, you've all lost the thumbs up button. Where is it? Or it means that all of you are reviewing your meeting after every meeting, which is great, because I would have thought this was one of the things that happens less often. So, okay, one of you, not sure if you're all being honest with me here, but I will continue. Rate the meeting at the end of every meeting and discuss what needs to improve or what went really well. And that will help you refine your meetings over time. Now, never run from a meeting again. We've identified some red flags. Now I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that you can deploy to help improve your meetings over time. And I've seen meeting ratings that started in 3s or 4s out of 10. I've seen ratings move to an 8 out of 10 in as little as 6 weeks. So you can take in the red terrible meetings to in the green positive meetings in 1 month or within 2 months quite easily by deploying some of these tips. So I'll talk through some of them now. I'm going to talk about the basics. I'm assuming everybody knows this stuff. I'm going to reiterate it and cover it to provide the platform for some of the deeper stuff that I'll then go into. So the first thing, you've got to have an agenda. So we talked about that before. Use agendas that people know what the agenda is coming into the meeting. That's actually important. But we've got this agenda. We want 3 roles. We want a note taker. We want a timekeeper. And we want a meeting lead. Now, these are different people, okay? These are different roles to a different person. One person takes down the minutes. I'm going to talk about the difference between minutes and transcripts, but one person takes down the minutes because if you're the meeting lead and you're running the meeting and typing, it's really difficult to listen to the feedback and observe the feedback signals that you're getting from people in the room. So you need a note taker. The note taker is capturing the key things that were discussed, the decisions that have been made, the actions that have been captured. It is not a transcript, it's just a summary of the discussions from each agenda item. The timekeeper is a crucial role because the timekeeper has permission to call it out when you're going down rabbit holes, when you're getting off track, or when you're going over time. This enables you to recalibrate the meeting on the fly and perhaps organize a follow-up meeting for a discussion point that you need to go deeper on without derailing all the other items that the rest of the people are there in the room for. Now, the meeting lead is the most difficult role because you're talking to each of the items and keeping everything on track with the help of the timekeeper. My advice is to rotate who's doing those roles every week. Everybody has a turn, being the note taker, the timekeeper, and the meeting lead. Now, this is a key insight for you to take away and write it down. Rotate those roles. Why? Because everybody learns some empathy as to how hard it is to run a really good meeting. And so now people are working together, meeting after meeting after meeting, to improve the meeting, do it better, and get better outcomes. So give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you, or if that landed with you. Because whilst it sounds, okay, good. Whilst it sounds simplistic, and it is, it's remarkable how much this does not happen. So the basics, so in our Beyond tool, and most meeting tools, anyone that you use, will capture actions or accountability. What Beyond does is it surfaces those to the forefront, so at all times you can see what's on track and what's not on track. This gives everybody at the table an instant snapshot view of who's got stuff under control and who hasn't. Now, it's not for the purpose of ass kicking or, a witch hunt or anything like that. The purpose of surfacing everything and keeping it transparent is so that teams can support each other to get things back on track. So in great organizations where strategies get executed and achieved, teams hold each other account for the purpose of supporting each other to achieve, not find out who's not doing a great job. Now, if this is being surfaced every week and you're seeing who's in the red and who's in the green and you're supporting each other, if somebody is constantly in the red and can't get back into the green, one of two things will happen. They will figure out how to get in the green with the team's help, or they're going to realize that this isn't for them. And either outcome is okay. All right? Now, the next thing is you've got to make the progress of the meetings visible. Are they improving? What feedback and what data are we collecting that validates that our meetings are improving? And can we see our progress over time? So again, I have this in Beyond. We have this in Beyond. Some other tools may do this as well. But what this enables you to do is reflect on that scorecard regularly and go through that feedback as a manager or as a leader. You can go through that feedback and see, are you the one doing too much talking? Are you opening the floor too much? Do we have too many agenda items? Are we constantly going over time? Do we have too many attendees? Are there too many voices at the table that shouldn't be? Why are we rating it low all the time? Or is that trend line improving? Have we hired a new manager that's leading the meetings that's causing the trend to go down? You see, so these are all things that we can problem solve and fix when we can see it. So one of the themes and one of the things I want you to write down is data. One of the key pillars here of having great meetings is having data. Data live in the meeting, data you can refer back to, and data you can validate as you move forward. Now, we'll dig a little bit deeper here. So these are the slides where there's a bit of writing on them. So if you want the slides, we can send them to you. You shouldn't really put lots of writing on slides, and I do know that, but you can have a quick squiz at them, and then I'll just talk to a couple of tips that will help for each one. So for this part, you're going to need to be zoned in. Get yourselves ready. Okay, so the first tool to dig deeper and improve your meetings. Review your meeting architecture. What that is the structure of all of your meetings that are unique to your business. IT companies run different meetings to construction companies who run toolbox meetings at the backs of their utes, to accounting firms who might run a different style of meeting again. Different types of businesses and industries run different types of meetings. Now, the architecture is what are the types of meetings you run, your sales meeting, your board meeting, your SLT meeting, etc. But then each of those meeting types that you run, you also need an agenda with agenda items that are specific to those types of meetings. Now, the key thing that ties all of these together is that what the meetings are called, what the agenda items say, and the prompts and discussion points in your agenda item details are all in your language. So language unique to your business. And when you can do that, the meetings feel like yours, they feel unique, and people feel more engaged in them. Give me a thumbs up if that made sense. That's a big, complex topic that I've covered quickly. Okay, that's landing, good. Okay, next one, time management. Now, lots of people keep say, we're getting close to running out of time. Zoom and other online tools have a clock at the top that tells you how long the meeting's going for. Beyond, has a clock at the top that tells you how long the meeting's going for. And of course, everybody's seen a warning come up that says, you know, you're 10 minutes from the end. So we've all seen that. I think the trick that is missing from a lot of agendas is actually having in your agenda items how long is intended to discuss that item. Now, you don't need to time keep each item, but for example, if one of the meeting agendas is how was everyone's weekend, okay, pretty nice simple one for everyone to catch up on what each other got up to on the weekend. It should say something like, what's your good news from the weekend, 1 minute each. Now everyone knows they've got 1 minute to do a quick summary and a quick update, and with across 8 people, that's 8 minutes just for that one agenda item. So by putting a time indication on each of those meeting agenda items, you're signaling to people how long you think that discussion should take. And if we end up in a gritty topic or a rabbit hole that we think we need to go deeper on, what we can do is we can organize a different point in time for us to go deeper, maybe a deep dive meeting at the end of the month or something of that nature, or we can discuss the answers that we want to get in this meeting and capture those in the minutes, go away and look at some data and find some answers, and then answer those questions at the next meeting. Why? Because we're carrying those meetings forward into each subsequent meeting, and we're creating a record of the conversations we're having and the decisions that we're making. All right, active participation. Everyone should be involved in the conversation. We want people to feel heard. You get buy-in in initiatives and actions and progress when people feel like they've been a part of the decision making. The problem with asking for everyone's opinion is often opinions are just ego. And so you'll get what we call a talk fest meeting. Give me a thumbs up if you've experienced a talk fest meeting. Not today's meeting, but another meeting. Okay, a couple of thumbs up coming through. So the talk fest meeting. This happens because you have not brought your data into the meeting. You should always discuss data in your meeting, because data removes ego, because you're talking about what is in front of you, and then you can solve the discussion and answer the questions based on what the data is telling you. Then when somebody has an opinion, we can sense check that against the data. So data is a really important piece of the puzzle in running good meetings. It's not death by data. It's not an overwhelming amount of reports. In your agenda items, you should have pre-planned questions that address the topic that you want to answer. You answer those questions and you see the data on the screen at the same time as a team. And beyond, we can bring all the data from across the platform into the meeting. You can bring data from outside the platform into the meeting, whether it's Xero reports or MYOB. Anything that you want to bring into the meeting should be brought into the meeting, there for people to see while you're discussing it. Okay, rabbit holes. They happen, they will always happen, because business is hard. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes we need to address them right away. Sometimes there are fires to put out. But if you have, for example, and I've done this calculation in the room once with an engineering client, 12 engineers around the room at $400 an hour each, and we're going down a rabbit hole that involves 2 of the people in the room. Is that a productive use of time? Which emoji are you going to use? No, it is not a productive use of time. There is a whole bunch of lost productivity right there. So when we encounter a rabbit hole, that's okay. Again, capture the topic. Can we solve this today? That's the first question. Can we solve this rabbit hole today? If not, what are the questions we need to answer? Capture those questions. Then go and find the answers in the time in between. At the next meeting, discuss the data that we've found. Solve the rabbit hole then, right? Avoid going down those long, wide-ranging rabbit hole discussions. And here's the thing, again, going back to the timekeeper, we want that timekeeper to have permission to call it out. We've gone down a rabbit hole here, people. We're going off track. We're going off time. Having that culture of safety where people can call it out and keep things moving is critically important to not wasting everybody's time. All right, now effective note-taking. Here's a gnarly one for us to get through. We've got about 15 minutes to go, so stick with me. I'll speed up a little bit. Effective note-taking. like I said before, it is a summary of the key discussion points, the decisions that have been made, any decisions that have been deferred, and any actions that have been allocated. Okay? That's all effective note-taking is. It is different to a transcript. So at the moment, we're seeing this explosion of AI tools designed to help you and save you time. And in a lot of cases, they do that. And in some ways, they're very helpful, but not always. I'll give you an example. Minutes, as I said, are a summary of the key things. A transcript is a recording of everything that was said. Who has time to go through a transcript? I certainly don't. I think probably most of you probably don't. Transcripts are there to get saved as a backup or whatever in case something happens in the future and you need to go back and go through it. But what you're sharing with everybody post-meeting should not be a transcript. It should be a summary of the key things. Now, the issue with recording minutes and things using the AI tools is the executive summaries that they create is their interpretation of what was important. Now, if someone's recording notes at the time and beyond, you can see it on screen live in front of everybody in the meeting. When you can see the minutes being recorded there and then, you know whether what's being recorded is accurate and what you said and what you want in the minutes. I find that going back through an AI transcript just gives me yet another job to do to see whether or not those minutes are even accurate and whether the AI has picked out the right thing. So again, they can be useful, and certainly in online tools like Zoom, they are effective at doing that. But that's not what is important to creating a great meeting. The next thing is they tend to automatically distribute the minutes after the meeting. A lot of people want the chance to go back through the minutes and check that what has been recorded, especially something they've said, is accurate, and what is going to be shared with everyone is what you want to be sharing with everyone. So that's important too. So that's a couple of key things about AI. They can be really helpful, but in my experience, and certainly what we see with our clients using Beyond, because we track all this in the data, is the best meetings have short, succinct minutes that everybody has agreed on. Those are captured and time-stamped, and then they're shared with the attendees and those who were supposed to be there. They're approved and decided on before they're shared. Also, the tool then sends an action list to each attendee so that they know what actions have been assigned to them. Now, if people have been sent actions, how do you follow up and how do you bring things accountable? You bring those actions into each subsequent meeting as an agenda item so that they're talked about and traffic lighted every week, week after week. Are we red? Are we green? Are we making the progress that we want to be? Are we getting the actions done or not? Simply by surfacing these again and again, you get accountability. Now, I'm going to talk about accountability a bit more because I don't necessarily like that word. I like the word ownership more, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the key points here that I've had around accountability and running meetings is, should we record the meeting? My strong opinion is if you are having a meeting where it's open and collaborative, but you're discussing some difficult topics where people may be sharing things that are emotional for them or important to them, don't record the meeting. Because as soon as that little red light is going and everybody knows that they're being recorded, what happens? They shut down, they close off, and they don't share what they really think and feel. So if you're having a meeting where you're having discussions around something where you really need to know what people think and feel, don't record the meeting. Don't have a transcript tool going. Okay? You discuss things and then you record the minutes yourself and validate with the people that have shared that that is what they intended to say and that's the intended meaning behind it. Now, do record a meeting if you're getting a feedback meeting from a client where they might be telling you how you can improve or things that have gone wrong or things that they need you to solve. Do record the meeting if you're having a product or service development meeting or brainstorming meeting with your team. When you're having those kinds of meetings where you're sparking ideas and collaborating and it's less emotional and more so about forward momentum and things, then absolutely record those. But you've got, ask yourself, are you actually going to go through, and who who is going to go through and watch those recordings and pull out the key pieces? Again, you can capture the key pieces on the fly while you're collaborating as a team. And you can do that on a lot of different platforms, whiteboarding tools and things like that. And you can do that and beyond. So think carefully before you hit record to a meeting that you're running with a team. The number one issues that teams report post-meeting is that people don't know what was agreed on. And so accountability versus ownership really comes down to this. If the business needs to achieve something, I want to say, right, who is going to lead this project? And if someone says, hey, I'd like to lead that one, I feel like I can do a good job of that, we've got ownership. If I'm delegating and going, you need to do this, and I'm not giving somebody a choice, they're not opting in to taking accountability or responsibility or ownership of that action or that project. They're begrudgingly going, oh, okay, I'll just add that to my gigantic list of things to do. So if people have a gigantic list of things to do and there are actions and projects that need to be done, we need to be saying, who can lead this? And then if somebody's skill set is best to lead it, but they're too busy, we need to be saying, who can do those other things for this person to enable them to take ownership of this project? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Because when people opt in, you get ownership. You can get accountability by assigning people jobs, but it doesn't feel as good. Cool. Okay, you guys are getting it. Good. All right. Very quickly now, here's a meeting architecture example. I'm going to talk to two different agendas and just give you some really quick zingers, some tips for you to write down that make these meetings awesome. And I can do that for literally any meeting that you want. So reach out to me afterwards if you want to review your meeting architecture. But here's an example. Daily stand-ups. I have clients that run them every day, every odd day, and just a Wednesday stand-up. In fact, we do that in my own companies. We have just a one day where we do a stand-up, and it's a quick check-in with each other to get back on track. Businesses have weekly operations or WIP meetings. A strategy execution meeting is different to a WIP meeting. You are talking about your strategic goals in that meeting, not all of the other projects that you've got going in the business. Your monthly deep dives are your opportunity to go deeper on a topic that you want your senior leadership team to solve. Generally a couple of hours. Ad hoc brainstorming sessions. Try to pre-plan these and minimize them so that people don't get frustrated with always being called into brainstorming sessions. These should be something with a clear agenda and a reason why and who should be there beforehand. Quarterly reviews should happen every quarter. Are we achieving what we want to be with our strategy or not, and why, and what are we going to do about it? And then annual strategic planning is, do we have the right strategy for this business? Does that make sense? Please give me an emoji that resonates with you. Is that a good basic architecture for a business to stick to? Now, you then rename these meetings in your language. Okay? Each of these gets called your meeting type so that it feels like yours. Now, a good strategy review, here's some quick tips for you. Write down one or two of these things that you haven't been doing. Firstly, always celebrate your wins because we don't do that enough. 2, focus on what you learned as a result of winning or losing. What did you learn? And how can we drag those learnings with us forward in the next quarter? Turn those learnings into actions, things we're going to do differently. We focus on the disciplines that work in the quarters in between so that we can get stuff done. I got more on that on another day. Look at the big picture in the long term and ask yourself, are we still on track for that? Then analyze the 3-year strategic space, what's happening around us that we need to respond to, define the next steps in the actions, and then here's the thing, communicate it company-wide. Take the minutes and the notes and the actions and the decisions that you made in this meeting and share that with the whole organization so that everyone's on the same page. Here's some things to avoid. Don't get into the weeds at your quarterly reviews. Quarterly reviews are for big picture, not the weeds. Don't only look at red lights. Red lights are what you look at week to week. At your quarterly reviews, you want to find, identify, and celebrate the green lights. What are we doing well? What's really working for us? Never close off without agreeing on a next step in actions. Don't allow mic hoggers to occur. Make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. And this sometimes means addressing people directly or asking somebody to stop. And alignment fails when people don't get a turn to speak. If somebody sits in a meeting quiet the whole time, you cannot expect them to deliver an action for you. They will have zero buy-in. That one resonated with you. Good. Okay, here's a good sales meeting agenda. I have a few minutes left. Okay, stick with me a little bit longer. I'll just check the participants. Okay, everyone's still with me. Okay, good. I'll go quickly through this one, but this one's powerful. So listen carefully to this one. I have turned around many a sales team for different clients across New Zealand and Australia, deploying this one. Okay, so a good sales meeting agenda captures wins. You identify roadblocks and record them and build that into a list that you keep over time and deal with week after week. You generate new ideas on ways to generate new business. You review the collective predictive KPIs, so the input activities that the team are doing to generate sales. Not the outcome, not revenue, not what you get out of Xero or your accounting system. The input measures, things like number of meetings, things like number of phone calls, or, that's probably old now, number of leads addressed through the website. We want the indicators that are showing that we're making progress towards those outcomes. We want to identify new opportunities, and we want to record those, and then every subsequent week we want to ask what happened with those opportunities that you said were coming up. Now, this builds some accountability, but it also ensures that we're not losing opportunities because we've been busy or, forgotten about them. I've got more on that for another day. Show appreciation for those that have done extra. Sometimes, in fact, salespeople are often really busy. They're probably the third busiest person in the company. If CEO's first and CFO is second, operations manager and or salespeople are probably next. Lots going on. So when people are going extra to help each other, call it out and record it and share that with everyone else, that these people have been awesome team members. It helps build energy and motivation into a sales team who sometimes really need it. Now, when salespeople get stuck, don't beat them up. Support them, help them, rally around them as a team, gift them a new lead. In fact, that's the best way that you can inject energy into a salesperson that's struggling, is gift them a lead that they can chase down and win. That's a great way to give them energy. If you don't have any, bring them into one of yours and go and get it together. Give them that sense of what it feels like to win again. Now, here are things to avoid. Death by CRM. Never, ever, ever spend your meeting going through every single thing in the CRM. Just talk about the ones that are closing this week and which ones we need to get to closing this week. Let salespeople do their job and bring the others through the sales process. Don't suck the life out of the room by having negative conversations about how far behind we are. Focus on the opportunities and focus on the gap. So if we're behind, don't beat everyone up about it. How much are we behind? What's that figure? How many sales would solve that figure? Let's go and get those sales. Make it a game of chasing down the wins, not a game of you suck, everybody's useless in this room, okay? Chase down the wins, close the gap, make it a game. Discuss the, don't discuss the outcome numbers, discuss the input numbers. Do discuss the losses, but not in every sales meeting. Discuss them in the deep dive. Why did we lose it? What do we do about it next time? Don't let egos dominate the conversation, because every salesperson can tell a story, and they can tell a story all day long about all the stuff that they're doing. Cut all of that out. We just want, what's the opportunity? What's the action? What's the opportunity? What's the action? Keep it focused. Now, these are the things that are common amongst all winning agendas. It's in your own language. Less agenda items equals more. Too many agenda items kills every meeting. Time is allotted to each agenda item. It's clear and recorded what questions actually need answering, and data is discussed in the right forum. So please take a screenshot, write these down, take a snapshot. If you take nothing away from today, these are the 5 things that I want you to go away and change. They sound simple, they're remarkably hard to do with consistency. Now, the last thing is the second to last most important thing. I've got one more. Rating your meeting is the most important thing you can do. In Beyond, what we do is we say, how was the meeting out of 10 for you and why? Give us the reason. Was it a 6? Was it in the red? Did the meeting need to be better? What about it needed to be better? Was the meeting an 8 or a 9 or a 10? What was great about the meeting? Record these things and learn from them and manage your scorecard so you can see how you're performing. Be bold. Give yourselves permission to make this the most important courageous conversation of the week. Because if you have this courageous conversation every single week, you cannot help but make progress. And that, I promise you, I've tracked it with all of our clients. Rate your meetings, make progress, have the hard conversation. I'm going to skip over this one just because of time, but Elon Musk is famous and a bit divisive at the moment. There's another reason why I'll skip over it. He's famous for kicking people out of the meeting. If you're in the meeting, you should be expected to speak about something. If you're in the meeting, you should expect to own an action about something. If you're in a meeting and you're not speaking, the meeting was a pointless waste of time. That's what memos were designed for. Send a memo to catch everyone up. Meetings are not for FYIs, they're for having discussions and making decisions. Now, there's 5 types of meeting attendees, so let's play innocent or guilty. Just give me a thumbs up if you've seen this in a team that you've worked in. Number 1, persona number 1. The Phantom, nickname Vanishing Act, arrives late, leaves early, and really contributes. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen this. Because these are the types of behavior that we tolerate by not having courageous conversations. Next one is the sideliner, always distracted, always on their phone or laptop, never fully engaged. We nickname these people off on a tangent. You guys have all seen them. Okay. The monologuer, the dominant person who just won't shut up, otherwise called the mic hog. I'm totally guilty of this one myself. Again, this is not something you can allow to continue. The slacker, unprepared, disinterested, half asleep. I've literally seen someone fall asleep in a meeting once. Nickname snooze button. All of you are thumbs up to this one. Awesome. So snooze button happens a lot. That's no good. Last one. The gatekeeper blocks progress by constantly raising objections and disagreeing. We've nicknamed them roadblock. Now, bit of fun identifying these personas. Why? Because you have to have the courageous conversations with these people, because that behavior is wrecking your meetings and it's actually wrecking your company. It's destroying your business. Here's how we do that. Choose a time and place to have the one-on-one conversation. Make it quiet and private. I've often found that walking meetings are a great way to have courageous conversations because you're not face-to-face and adversarial. You're walking side by side and you're having a chat, but you're able to talk about real things. You can acknowledge that this is a potentially emotional meeting and prepare yourself for that. And in advance of the meeting, you can send a background information and meeting request to say, hey, I need to have a chat with you about, falling asleep in the meeting the other day. I recognize that this is going to be a tough conversation. Let's go for a walk at lunch and just clear the air. Great way to start a courageous conversation. Your method for having these conversations is the attune method. Take a screenshot of this. Google John Gottman. He can predict whether a marriage is going to succeed or fail with 90% accuracy, any marriage. And he's done this with thousands of marriages. And it all comes down to how well do you communicate within an interpersonal relationship. A way to communicate well is to give someone your full undivided attention. No cell phones, no laptops. Full face and body language attention. Eye contact. Turn towards, full body attention as well. Be in the room and there with that person. Seek to understand, not to respond. Really listen, not think about what you're going to say next. Have non-defensive body language, which is why walking meetings are so good, or a meeting in a park. And then, because that environment's calming. And then empathetic responses. After they've finished, don't respond with what you want to say. Respond with what you think you heard them say and ask if you've heard correctly. Then once they've agreed you have, you respond. If you do nothing else, this is the way to have courageous conversations. Then find some common ground that you can agree on as to what's going to happen next. Schedule a follow-up if you need to and reflect on that conversation. Now, I want you to write down the one thing that you took away from today's webinar. We're finishing 5 minutes over time. Sorry for that. One thing you took away from today's webinar. What's one thing that really resonated with you, or a light bulb or an insight that you felt was worth today? Please write that down. and email me if you haven't, because I've always said, and I truly believe with all of the ones that I attend, that if I just got one thing that I could latch onto, take away and improve, it was worth my time attending. So I hope it was worth your time attending today. Give me a thumbs up if it was. And if you've got one insight there that you've taken away, you're welcome to share it online if you want to. Cool. My one thing. This is my last message to you to take away, that I want you to take away. So please write this down. Never show up to a meeting unprepared, and never leave a meeting without a decision and an action. If you see a meeting closing down or winding down and that hasn't happened, be bold, be courageous, call it out. Hey team, what's the decision here and what's the action? Nail those things and you will have successful meetings. Here's some free stuff. Karina from my team will launch a poll now. If you want a free trial of our meeting software Beyond, tick that box. If you want the meeting cadence doc that's pictured on the right there, that will tell you and it will explain to you step by step how to do your meeting architecture, the types of meetings you can use, how long they are, who should attend, what agenda items you should have, all the information you need to do this yourself. So if you want that document, please let us know. We'll email that out to you. If you want the slides, maybe flip me a message. If you want a meeting architecture review where you want me to go through it with you, I'm happy to do that. And I can show you Beyond at the same time and how you do it in there if you're interested in that and want to see that. So please answer that poll. That'll give me some good information as to what people are interested in too. This is my first time running a webinar on the most exciting topic in the world, meetings. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me today. I'll just quickly check the Q&A. Yes, we have a question in there. When you are absent for a meeting, do you believe it is your responsibility to ask for the minutes and what has happened, or the meeting facilitator send it out automatically? Thanks, Catherine. That's a really, really great question. I believe that somebody at the meeting should be responsible for sending those out. The decision that you have to make as a business is who's responsible for the meeting, the minute taker or the meeting lead. In my case, I think it is the job of the minute taker to then capture those minutes and email that out to everyone who wasn't there.